Hi there, it is Jo from Minerva, and today I'm here to do a masterclass, and today's class is all about Calico. Our Fabric Masterclass is linked to our Minerva Fabric Guide, which is a comprehensive guide to 70 of our most popular base cloths. It's a fantastic book for gaining some fabric knowledge, and the more knowledge you have about fabrics and what's behind them and how they're made, the easier it is to choose the correct fabric when you're shopping online. First section gives you lots of information about how fabrics are made, how to wash them, how to look after them, how to choose them online. The second chapter is all about different fibre types. So if you understand what the content of your fabric is and how it's made and with which fibres, then you'll be able to understand the characteristics of your fabric. Will it drape? Is it breathable? Is it structured? Is it sheer? All of those things will be down to the fibre content. That will give you the characteristics of your fabric. In the third section of the book, there is an alphabetical order chapter with all of the 70 most popular base cloths in order in the book, and it gives you a little description of each one. And with the book, you also get a pack of samples. So you get 70 different swatches of fabric, and you can stick them in your book, a little bit like a sticker book. There's a sticker on the back of each one giving you the fibre content, the weight, sometimes the name. So that information is useful because you can use that to match up to the description on the website. You can also use the fabric to compare one fabric to another fabric that you think might be similar, and then you can really hone down your choice. In today's example, you can see that Calico is a rating 1 out of 5, really easy to sew. It's not difficult, it's stable, it's easy to sew. It's the how you treat it that is a little bit more tricky. It tells you the characteristics of the fabric, some details of weight and opacity. It tells you what you can do with it. And here it will give you some information on sewing tips, and that's what I want to dive into today. Calico is a cotton fibre fabric. It's always a cotton fibre fabric, and it is a fabric that's what's called loom state. So it's half processed, it's undyed, it's untreated, it's not in its final state. So it's often used as a mock-up piece of fabric because it doesn't always make garments. It can, but you need to do a little bit of background work. When you pre-wash the fabric, you will get some fraying, and you will also get a lot of creasing because the fabric hasn't been completely processed and pre-shrunk and had dyes applied at different temperatures. Then you'll get a lot of creasing and a lot of shrinkage, around 10% definitely on your first wash, and a little bit more even after that. So if you want to use Calico for garments, then it's a really good idea to use our sample service, and you can get some sample strips and wash them and see what it's like. Because if you're going to make something like an Ilford jacket or something, a really neutral summer jacket, and then you wash it because the cuffs get a little bit grubby, then you might be disappointed that you can't get back the texture that it originally was. Let's have a look at those textures. When your Calico arrives, you'll be able to feel the stiffness of it and also the hand of it. So this one is quite smooth, but I haven't pre-washed this. But when I pre-washed the one that I used for my toile, you can see all of these creases, and I've really quite aggressively pressed that. So I've added a little bit of water and steam so that I could really try and smooth it out. I was being quite firm with my pressing, but even then that's probably as good as I could get it. You can get lighter calicos. So this one is much softer and more pliable. This one is on the back of a quilt. You can see my hand stitching there. It was really quite soft, and with the batting underneath, it's made a really great backing for a quilt. It's cheap, so if you spent lots of money on your outer fabrics, a Calico is a good choice for quilt backing. You just need to make sure that you're not getting a really firm, crisp one that will change the characteristic of your quilt. This one's very smooth, but sometimes you might get little wood pulp pieces or unprocessed cotton pieces within your fabric, but that is part of the characteristic of Calico. It's not as refined as other fabrics, which is why it's used for toiles and bags and not always for garments. The key to washing calico is not to wash it too hot. So this one was washed on 40 degrees and that is too hot. You will get this crinkling here that changes the weave of the fabric, and it shrinks the cotton so much that you can't go back to its original state. So make sure you start low, wash your calico on 20 degrees or 30 degrees if you think that's how you're going to wash it afterwards. Calico is a really cheap fabric because it's not had all of the processes at the manufacturing stage. It is just in its raw state. Then it's a real budget friendly fabric for making toiles, so that's what I use it for. So this block is from my body block. I've been following Izzy Butcher's tutorials over on Minerva. I've never made one before. I've really enjoyed the process, and I've been putting together my body block. It presses really crisply, so you can definitely get your sizing accurate when you're putting in darts. You can write on it, so if you need to mark where your bust apex is, you can. If you need to draw on any more lines or adjustments, you can do that with a felt pen, and you can kind of do it to yourself. Because it's a firm fabric, then it's a favourite for lining bags, being on the inside of a bag, or for making tote bags. You can use it for home furnishings, bean bags, cushion covers, outdoor cushion seats and all of that kind of thing. You often see it as a layer under upholstery, so you will find calico holding down all upholstery insides, and then the outer layer is put on top. That's because this isn't going to be washed at that stage. It's just a really firm fabric holding everything together. The thing you want to be aware of if you want to choose calico for something is what will happen when I wash it. Will I be able to wear it again? Because you don't want to make something and it just be a one-hit wonder. Calico is useful as a quilt backing in the one that I just showed you. You can see it here on the bed, gives it a bit of a fluidity, and it won't be washed lots anyway, so I can keep it in that smooth state. In terms of quilting, you can also use it to layer up jackets. So in this padded jacket here, you can see the really beautiful work on the inside and then the plain calico on the outside. It's also good for bag making, so tote bags with embroidery, tote bags or little gift bags with printing, because they will take any kind of dye or printing ink, and you will need to fix that, but you can make really nice effects on the plain calico. Calico is good for dyeing, so you can try a dip dye, you can try tie dye, you can try a machine wash dye. Garment wise, one of our makers has made a painting boiler suit, which is ideal if you're an artist or you want to cover up. You'd have to again check whether it would wash over and over again. This beautiful jacket is a real natural piece that can be used with lots and lots of different outfits. Here it's been used to make trousers, so this will be a lighter version of a calico. You can use it to make a toile or as a stiffener on the inside of costumes. So in this historical costume, the calico is used to give the sleeve volume. You can also use calico for toy making, so you can use it to make rag dolls and their body parts of different toys. I'm not wearing calico today. I'm wearing one of Minerva's exclusive viscose chalets. This is graphic floral. And I've made a Stevie dress. It's really nice and floaty, and I've used the tie version rather than the button version because the tie drapes really well at the back. It's a really great transitional piece that takes me into summer and with thick leggings in the winter. Today I'm going to be making a tote bag with the calico, just to show you how to stitch it, how to finish the edges, and a few little techniques along the way. Not so many with calico because it's such an easy fabric to sew. You don't need any special needle for sewing calico. You can just use any universal needle. It's pretty forgiving. Even a blunt needle will work okay in it. It depends what you're making. If you're just making up a toile, then you can probably use an old needle. If you're making your own finished garment, then you might want to put in a sharp needle just to get a clear stitch line. I'm using stitch length 3, but if you're making something that might be under a little bit of stress, like stretching something over a cushion seat, for example, then you might want to use stitch length 2.5. Because the fabric is stable, you can definitely back tack. It won't get sucked into the holes of the foot plate because the fabric is really firm. You can mark calico with either a chalk, a Calico, or if you've got a specific place, if you're sewing a collar, for example, and you want to get to a point, you can use an air erasable pen. Because I'm sewing a rectangle and the fabric is so firm and it grips well onto the underside, I'm not even pinning these two rectangles together, I'm just sewing them up. If you're making a toile of a garment, then you probably won't be finishing the edges, you'll be pressing them open so that you can get the correct fit. But if you're making something like a bag, then you might want to just zigzag the edges together. There's no need really to zigzag each individual seam because the side of a bag doesn't need to be absolutely pressed open for size. I'm going to zigzag my two edges together just to stop any future fraying. You can of course use an overlocker to finish your edges, so I've made a pocket here. When I turn it down, I won't create bulk and the inside won't fray. If you want to get really sharp corners with calico, because you're bag making for example, then I don't like to cut the corner off if I'm bag making. I like to use that seam allowance to create a really sharp point. You fold the seam allowance in, it creates a strong right angle. You pinch that together and push it through. Makes that end absolutely perfect and it's flat. You don't get a bit where one part of your seam allowance is overlapping another. Calico takes top stitching really well, so if you're bag making, you can make a very clear top stitch line. It doesn't pucker because it's so firm and crisp. It's like a starched piece of fabric, and that's not had any starch put on it at all. I normally tack a pocket together, but that's just staying really crisp and pressed in the correct position. If you do pre-wash your fabric and it comes out really crinkly, and the one that I chose today came out and I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done to the fabric? But actually with some steam, a little bit of spray water out of a spray gun, I could really steam it out again. I couldn't get every crinkle out, so it's made me think that if I made a garment in it, say a jacket, and I just wanted to either get a little mark off or I wanted to just refresh the cuffs, then I would probably hand wash it and or just spot clean it. That way I won't spoil the integrity of the fabric texture, and it will remain in the smoothness and in the state that I purchased the calico. You can be quite heavy-handed with calico. You can give it a really hot press. You can do lots of things to it. So you can add dyes, you can tie-dye it. It's ideal for applique, embroidery, hand embroidery or machine embroidery. So really it's a base cloth for you to make your creative choices of what you're going to do with it. Because calico is so stable, you can add extra pieces of fabric and it won't outweigh it. And you can also use your free hand embroidery foot if you can drop your feed dogs, and you can just freehand sew. I'm just putting a bee on the pocket of this tote bag. Here's my bag finished. It's got a square bottom in, the applique pocket, top stitched straps, and an inside poly cotton pocket. Calico is great for bag making. This is the Minerva Fabric Guide. It's a comprehensive guide to fabric fibres and base cloths. It's not a project book, it's a book all about the background information on fabric. At the start, you'll find information on how fabric is made, the differences between stretch fabrics and woven fabrics. It's a really useful page here on weight versus thickness, because quite often you can't feel the hand of your fabric unless you've had a sample. And this way you'll be able to compare some of the details on the description with the weight descriptions and the weight of the fabric. In the second section, this is where you'll find out all the different information about fibre types. Here you'll be able to get a bit of background detail on why the fabric behaves in the way that it behaves. And of course, in some fabrics, you'll get a mix of more than one fibre, and each one of those will bring something different to the fabric. In the final section of the book, there's an alphabetical order chapter of fabric types. So this one is drill. You get a little piece of fabric, and it's really great for comparing one fabric to another. So if in your mind you think you want to use drill, but when you feel it, you're not so sure, and you think, oh, that diagonal weave is a little bit prominent, then you could compare it to another fabric like twill, and this one has a much softer finish. You might also think you don't like the diagonal weave altogether, and head to a similar fabric and feel the texture and hand of that. And if you want to go and explore a fabric further, you can use the QR code on the page, scan this, and it will filter all the fabric type to your search. You won't be searching through thousands and thousands of fabrics that you don't want to look at. You can just hone in on the ones that you do. You can find out more information on this over on our YouTube channel. There's a video from Vicky and one from me where we go into the folder in a little bit more depth. Thank you for joining us today. There are lots more videos to come in the Fabric Masterclass. Many more fabrics for garment making. Today was just that Calico is an interesting fabric if you need to make toiles, bags, a mock-up, great for historical costumes, toys, all of those things that I showed you in the Maker Gallery. Vicky will be with you for a pattern inspiration video alongside Calico, so you'll be able to find out any specific garment patterns that you can make with this fabric. We would love to see if you have been making anything, so do head over to Minerva, make a free account there, share your makes and show us what you've been up to. You can also join the craft club there, where you will receive discounts and offers throughout the year. We're only on C of the Fabric Masterclass, so there are lots more videos to come. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.